This is Hashtag Finance, presented to you by the CSE, the Exchange for Entrepreneurs.
All right, well, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Hashtag Finance. We are broadcasting from my house in Newmarket, Ontario, and I'm being joined today by Brian McKinney with ICEsoft. ICEsoft is based where? Where are you based today, Brian?
Well, conventionally, we're based out of Calgary, Alberta. We have West Coast offices in Victoria, and that's where I am calling in from today.
Beautiful. I used to live in Victoria. I know very well, and it's probably a good place to be during today's pandemic, which is sort of what we're going to touch on today, because ICEsoft deploys a technology solution that I think I'm curious to know more about how it's being applied today in today's crisis situation. But maybe just for the users, just give them a bit of an oversight as to why ICEsoft has the solutions that you guys deploy. And in particular, I think Voyent Alert, which is the one that's really keeping you busy. Maybe just tell us a bit about how that system works and how it's being used today in the pandemic environment.
Sure. Well, Voyent Alert is a little bit different from some of the conventional solutions that people might be familiar with. The alert ready stuff from the federal government and whatnot. And we kind of have a bit of a slide that we can kind of show people as well. And shortly after 9/11 came out, a bunch of solutions hit the market for community alerting and community engagement. Typically, they do a great job getting the word out, but they're often very text heavy. We tend to feel that if we have access to a little bit more bandwidth, we have the ability to kind of deliver a more enriched information package. So whether that is inclusive of maps or rich media files, photos and imagery, that thing, that helps a lot in terms of engaging people a little bit more. If you get just a bunch of text and words, sometimes people gloss over it a little bit and kind of move on. But if you see that imagery and you see, hey, here's where the fire is, here's where my mom's house is. My mom's house is 200 meters northwest of the fire, and this is her evacuation route. It kind of drives home a little bit more of an urgency and a little bit more called on to action. So in general, we believe, if you were to look down at the two kind of images side by side, it comes down to which would you rather, in an emergency, which one are you going to get more useful information out of? And as you alluded to, we're seeing a bunch of activity these days coming out of our client base with the COVID stuff.
Right. And what client base are you working with? Who's utilizing the system now, and how are they using it today?
Yeah, we tend to sell primarily to small to medium-sized communities. I think the large urban centers are typically dealt with, with the existing solutions that are out there. But the underserved segment of our society and of North America is in that small to medium-sized community range. A solution that works well for a Toronto doesn't always translate well to a Lethbridge or a Medicine Hat or what have you, in terms of the infrastructure requirements to deploy the system. So yeah, we tend to focus on the smaller communities, the more rural ones, regional districts, counties. At present, we have about 120 municipalities across Canada that we're providing service coverage to, in terms of where that is. They run the systems themselves in terms of pulling together the communications that they want to make and communicate into the community. And, I would say in the last month, the system has been lit up nonstop.
Okay, so I always thought about your system as being like, okay, there's a fire, or there's a physical situation where people need to move or get away from or get to help. And in this case, we now have a pandemic. A virus is a silent killer. It is moving in people. It's not something you can see with your eyes unless you can see someone who's got it. How does your platform help emergency responders and municipalities and other your communities that you're serving in a time of a pandemic? What's the application doing for them?
So in a lot of these cases, it's just about communication. You serve the public needs by keeping them informed. Right. And there's different mechanisms to do that. You can certainly post information on your website. This is a little bit more proactive kind of a model where you can send them voice calls or text information that links to a private web page for them that shows a little bit more provides a little bit more information. In this case, it's everything from, maybe a little bit more direct information on what we mean by shelter in place and what those conditions apply to.
Mm-hmm.
Information about whether or not what facilities are open and accessible and when they're shutting down. If you have an emergency, who do you call now? And where do you go in? So we're seeing regular communications going out from communities to their members almost on a daily basis. Just keeping them informed. How many cases are there? What do they need to know? What's changing in terms of what's going on?
Right. And does the user, the end user that's getting that information, they opt into getting the app, right? It's an app, or is it something they get passively through the carrier?
Well, both. So
Mm-hmm.
it's their choice as to how they want to engage with the service. So I would say 65% of our user base, maybe 70, download an app and they receive the communications directly through the app. For those others that maybe don't have or are less comfortable with that kind of technology, we deliver the message through text-based messaging with links through their mobile browser that will open up a personal web page of information. We deliver it by phone call or email. We also let municipalities integrate into their social media platforms. So it's all linked in and tied together.
Right. Okay. And now you guys are a public company. You've got other facets to your business. Is there anything else you guys are deploying right now in your technology stack that are helping people, or is this the main focus of your business right now?
Yeah, this is the main focus right now. We do have legacy software that kind of helped us develop the Voyent Alert platform. A couple years back, we were interacting with some of our enterprise clients on the West Coast, and they requested specifically a new kind of community engagement solution, something that was a little bit more enriched in nature. They wanted something that would talk to a little bit more context and provide more context during an emergency so that people could make better, more informed decisions about what was going on around them.
Right, understood.
Our history has been enterprise software, so we have a lot of experience in high volume scalability, high reliability platforms, that sort of stuff. And we applied all of those tools and techniques to the Voyent platform. And, it's a good thing because, as I said, the system is pretty much lit up all the time with people going through there.
Good. No, it's good to be needed and wanted, and even though it's challenging times like this. Now, with your company, you guys are, you said you're in Victoria, you've got staff elsewhere. How are you guys dealing with deployment and working as an organization in a cohesive manner during basically a lockdown? Everyone has to stay at home, stay within their communities. How are you trying to work together?
Yeah, we have a lot of practice in distributed employee sets. So we have employees that are off in Europe or down in the States and spread out across everything. So, when we moved from office space to work at home, it was a very small step for us. It was let's take this group of 10 people and we're going to have them work from home and the 5 over there, the same thing. So we as a company have a high reliance on all of the productivity software and solutions that are out there. We use different tools for communicating back and forth, things like Slack and kind of the conventional, communication stuff. Our meetings are very regular. Every morning we'll have Scrum meetings that are going on to set everybody and calibrate it. And then after that, we're on the phone the whole time.
Right.
When we turn and pivot to the client, in that case, we're doing a lot more support these days. A lot more where we see a lot of the push points are those clients that have signed the deal and they're in the process of rolling out. And so a lot of the requests that we're fielding these days is we need to accelerate it. We know we told you we wanted to roll out next month. We need to go by the end of the week. How do you make that happen?
Right.
And so everything from training to everything else, we're rolling through online, which is the capability was always there for us. So.
Nice. No, it's I guess for some, it's been a huge shift. I think for us at CSE, it's been learned on the fly how to do some things differently. But for you guys, it seems like you've already got it figured out, which is awesome. You're also running a public company. So the stock symbol is ISFT. You're listed on the CSE. Are you finding that with all the volatility in the market and everything that's happening just as a marketplace in the stock world, are you having to give that a lot of attention right now, or are you just focused on business and you have other people dealing with the investor relations and things like that?
Yeah, so we just recently closed a round of financing, excuse me, which was we were really happy about that. Probably some of the ugliest time to try and raise capital in recent memory, but we were able to pull it off with some help of some very, very good people. In general, however, we try to stay focused on tending to our own knitting, and we really think that at the end of the day, our performance is what's going to cause us to stand apart and stand out. If we can execute on our plan and get our clients happy and thrilled with using the product, I think it pays dividends through this time. So we're hyper focused on support right now and giving everybody everything that they need as soon as they need it, and doing that.
And the model is it per user, or you just sell enterprise solution to these municipalities and they pay you a lump sum or a subscription? How does the model work?
Yeah, there's two kind of components to the pricing model. One is a baseline subscription, includes a certain number of end users. We provide them with facilities to roll it out and a bunch of custom collateral that they need to kind of do that. Some communities already come with existing user bases established, in which case we just import them. So whether that's from existing data roles or oftentimes these days it's a competitor solution that they've been in bed with and have decided to flip over to us, and we're moving across that way. So there's an element there of pricing that's an annual subscription fee on a per user basis. We typically overlay that with a usage fee as well, depending on the nature of the deal and the nature of the client. But at that point, maybe it's a couple of pennies for every email or for every text message that's going out, and all of these add up and kind of contribute to the overall revenue stream.
Good. Okay, so now looking forward, you guys got your head down. How many hours a day is your team working, deploying and managing and servicing your clients?
We're all pretty much like in that 12-hour a day range these days.
Yeah.
Some of us longer as we're doing it, but we're always on call for our clients. So night or day, 24/7, they stumble, they need some advice or some help, and there's always going to be somebody at the end of the phone.
Are you learning anything about crowd dynamics or human behavior through watching how people respond to your alerts?
Yeah, we see a bunch of interesting information there in terms of the behavior. The challenge is always when you have a voluntary registration system. Yeah. It's always interesting to see what are the dynamics that drive that registration. Certainly key events like this are a big contributor. We'll see some clients are onboarding 700, 800 people a day in these kinds of situations in terms of going out there. What we find is that the more relevant the information is that's being broadcast, the more people talk about it and the more crowdsourcing elements that we get. We've built into the solutions, especially the mobile solutions, an ability now to forward on the messaging to friends and family members and peers and give them the opportunity to auto-register. So we're just starting to see the tip of that kind of come across. The other big piece I think that we have is we've gone well out of our way to develop a system that's very much anonymous in nature. We kind of feel like for systems like this to be effective, people need to be comfortable with them. They need to trust the systems. Yeah. It's kind of hard to do that when you go through a 5-minute registration process and first name, last name, middle name, mother's middle name, ours totally anonymous. Even with our location tracking, for example, we keep that on board the device. We're not doing active pinging of devices and location tracking on those mobile apps at all.
Interesting. Well, I'm looking forward to hearing more as you learn through this very dynamic situation. How should people keep in touch with you and your company? What should they be watching?
What we want them to watch is whether or not our usage fees are growing quarter over quarter, how much we're onboarding new clients, right? So this quarter we've onboarded about 35 new municipalities, which is a pretty healthy number for us given the time of year and the circumstances. But that's up 30-40% from last quarter in terms of what we're doing. So we're seeing very strong growth across the board. As we move into the States in a couple of months, I think we want to see that kind of bump up yet again as we're going through there. So the two factors are how many people are we talking to and how often are we talking to them.
Okay.
And I think those are the two good anchor points that we want people to focus on with us. All
right. And your website's the best place to get information, or do you guys have a active Twitter feed and whatnot?
Yeah, so either www.icesoft.com or www.voyent-alert.com, and either of them will find us.
Okay, perfect. Well, Brian, thanks for joining us today. It's Brian McKinney from ISFT, broadcasting from Victoria. I'm James. I'm in Newmarket, Ontario, just north of Toronto. And if you're watching today on YouTube, please subscribe down below. And if you're listening today on your favorite podcast platform, Spotify, SoundCloud, Apple, Google, Stitcher, just make sure you're a subscriber. We're going to be pumping out tons of content. Finally, Canadian Securities Exchange is on Instagram, and we'll be doing live hits as well throughout the week. And as long as we're stuck in our home offices, we'll probably be doing more of this. So Brian, thanks again. Good luck with everything, and thank you for your hard work. I hope it's making a difference. And until next time, we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.